Welcome to the show. Just that simple. Welcome to the show. You know what we are. It's 11 weeks. And if you're new, go back to week 10 and look at the intro. We're going to start the show off with some emails. Thank you for the emails, by the way.
Yeah, here we go. This comes from Shane, from my hometown. Good friends with my daughter, Chloe. How do they carry the handheld cameras all game? Are they heavy? Also, how much does an average handheld camera weigh?
So, all game, you don't even think about it. Like, you do it so much, it becomes like your body get used to it. Like, honestly, you don't even think about it. And it creates like almost like a cuff here. That makes sense. I would say they weigh maybe anywhere between 25 to 30 pounds. I could be off. So any expert that's watching this show that say no, it's not, don't argue with me on that. I don't design them. I just use them.
The wireless ones are like 40.
Yeah, wireless.
The
RF ones are
right,
yeah.
RF ones,
Yeah. And during the game, I promise you zone out. So it's almost like if you're in the weight room and you're lifting weights and you're just in another zone, no matter how heavy the weight is, you just feel it. And then in the off season, majority of guys, I know me, I can't speak for everybody else. You know, I do certain workouts, like I'll put the barbell, I'll probably take like a 50-pound barbell, and I'll sit cross-legged like I'm doing NBA, and my trainer will be like up, over, down. And same thing with football. We'll go to a 100-yard football field, we'll take a 50-pound dumbbell, and I'll just walk back and forth with it on my shoulder. So, I gave you a secret. So, but yeah, I think that answers your question.
Yeah.
Thanks, Shane.
You train first.
Yeah.
You get that. That's good. Good question, Shane. Thank you.
When we're in the area, I would like change, try to come to one again.
Yeah, we'll pick Shane to win games.
Yeah.
Actually, we might do a game in Philly in a few weeks.
Yeah.
This comes from my friend Tyler. I work out at the gym with. What's a regular work week like for you guys during the NFL season? When do you leave? When do you come back home? What's it like on the road? Any special events, dinners, shows, etc.? From Tyler.
You want to go first?
Sure. Like typically we leave Friday night or Friday afternoon. And like you mentioned earlier, sometimes we like to leave a little early if there's something to do in a specific city. There's museums to visit, different things going on, and then we come home Monday morning usually.
Yeah.
Sometimes we get lucky, maybe we come home Sunday night. It's very rare though. As far as special dinners or anything like that, not really. You know, once in a while we have Thanksgiving together.
Yeah,
that's fun.
Yeah, that's really fun.
I mean, you're away from your family, but it's still, this is our extended family out here on the road.
Yeah, and like Mario said, usually we leave Friday. You kind of depend on what flight you want to take, depend on your schedule. Some people that probably got families, they probably leave later in the day. Some people like to get here early in the day. Me, depends on the city we're going to. If we go into a certain city, I'm like, I love museums personally. I like going to museums. I like trying different museums, all type of museums. So if we go to a certain city, like for instance, New Orleans Super Bowl, well, I'll probably definitely try to get to the World War Museum.
The World War II Museum.
Yeah, it's amazing. So just certain places I might get early, and there's certain places I'm coming in at Batman hours.
Yeah.
So, but that's, and then Monday morning, you got different guys. I'm on the first flight out. I learned from one of my good mentors, Oz Coleman. The first flight is rarely canceled. When I used to be on the show with him, and he taught me that, and so I always catch the first flight out because it's rarely canceled, and you got majority of your day once you get home. But you got some guys who might leave later through the day. Yeah. Just know the later you leave, you got a possibility that flight could be delayed, that flight could be canceled. Remember, that first flight out, that flight comes in the night before.
Unfortunately, as it gets later in the year, winter months, you're at the mercy of the airline
and
the weather. So sometimes taking the earliest flight sucks when you're on the way in. On the way home, I always try to take the earliest flight home because, like Corey said, they hardly ever. That plane's usually there for the night before.
Yeah.
You know you're leaving.
Yeah.
Another thing is like on the way in. It depends on sometimes like you may get the assignment late. Sometimes we get the assignment within 10 days, and we have to book a flight pretty quickly. And you're looking at all the seats. We're two pretty. I'm not going to say I'm a huge man, but I'm a big man. Corey's a big man. No one wants to be in the middle seat. Me coming up, so
that one
I
guy.
walk in, I'm like, yeah, the armrest is gone, brother. You're not getting on the armrest because it's gonna be mine. So I'm stuck in the middle seat, but I don't want to sit in the middle seat. I don't like that.
Either.
But that's pretty.
I'd rather sit in row 37 as a window seat.
Yeah. But that middle seat,
no,
those armrests are mine.
No.
That's about it. All right.
Oh, so now, thank you for the questions. First of all, thank you for the questions. You won't believe this. We have a huge guest, two-time Super Bowl champion, a man that played many leagues in the NFL, Max Starks. And brother, first of all, when you listen to his interview, you're gonna be blown away.
Yeah.
This guy's amazing. His knowledge of the game is impeccable. And man, thank you for coming on the show first and foremost. And y'all check this out. Hopefully you like it.
It's a pretty good get for us, and Max was phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
It was like a 40-minute interview. We're going to split it up in two pieces. This time we're going to do 20 to 22 minutes, and next week we'll finish it out. But like Corey said,
enjoy it.
Enjoy it.
Joining us today is Max Starks, former NFL player for the Pittsburgh Steelers, current broadcaster for the Steelers Radio Network. Max, thank you for doing this for us. This is a big deal for us. Thank you so much.
Nah, my pleasure, Mario and Corey, man. This is awesome to be on here. You know, like I said, I've watched your guys' podcast and everything. And so it's fun to be on this side of it and getting to interact. So I'm looking forward to it.
Let's get right into it. You were a top lineman in the state of Florida in 1999. I'm sure the recruiting process was very interesting. You were an honorable mention All-American. You played at the University of Florida for Steve Spurrier and Ron Zook. How did playing in the SEC help you to prepare for the NFL, since the SEC is the top conference in college football?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. I mean, you know, one of the things that I always believed is, you know, to be the best, you got to beat the best, right? That's how the old adage goes. And, you know, having the opportunity to go play at the University of Florida was awesome. I'll never forget my recruiting experience with Steve Spurrier. He came to my high school basketball practice.
Oh, wow.
And sat in the gym in this little small school in Orlando called Lake Highland Prep. Up in the roster, it was him and Jim Collins, who was a linebackers coach, but he was the area coordinator. They're both sitting there watching me for a 2-hour basketball practice. Good, bad, ugly, shooting free throws for suicides. Then afterwards, we go down to my coach's our athletic director's office next to my coaches, and he sits down and he just says, "Maxie, son, in the 3-point stance, not behind the 3-point line. Come on down to Florida." And I was like, "Oh my God." I was like, this dude, just how does he come up with those things? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're thinking about like all these different things. And my recruiting process was really cool because, you know, I went to Notre Dame, I went to USC, I went to Georgia, Florida State, Michigan. And, you know, my father went to Notre Dame and two of my uncles, then both my other two uncles went to USC. So they were all pulling me in their direction. But yeah, I just remember my grandmother and my mom in my ear, like, make sure you balance competition with education. And, you know, Florida at that time, and still is, it's part of the AAU, Academic Association of Universities, and was a top 10 football team coming off of the Citrus Bowl loss. And so I was like, you know what? This is a place I want to go. Didn't take an official, went there unofficially, but just loved the campus, loved the proximity to home. I could drive and get home about 2 hours, 2 hours and 20 minutes. And it was probably one of the best decisions because, like you said, when you go to the SEC, you know, when you see LSU, when you see Georgia, when you see Tennessee, you play Florida State every single year. And then we had some years where we went against Miami 3 out of my 4 years while I was there. And we remember how dominant those Miami teams were. Florida State was always good, and then all the talent that comes out of the SEC was just tremendous. I mean, a lot of those guys that I saw on Saturdays, I ended up seeing on Sundays.
Yeah.
Afterward. So it was just a tremendous experience, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
Well, my Georgia friends are probably gonna hate me, but you know, I got you, Max.
See, there we go. There we go. Thank you, Corey. Appreciate it.
I have a question for you here, man. So, first of all, shout out to Steel Nation, shout out to the Black and Gold. But you and Ben was both drafted together, right?
Yeah.
Realize you two was gonna be so tied at the hip when you got into camp. Did you realize your careers is gonna go just like this together?
So, you know, it's funny. After I got drafted and after Ben got drafted, like Ben, you know, had to do that whole, they fly him up the next day, does the press conference, holds the jersey up and everything. But when we actually flew up there for mini camp, you know, because it happened either the weekend after or 2 weeks after. Ours was 2 weeks after. I flew in, and both me and Ben arrived at the same time, and we shared a car down to the South Side facility. Well, they made us go take a stop at the TV station to do a TV hit, and then we went to the Steelers practice facility to sign our contracts and everything.
Nice.
That moment, it was just like sitting in the car with this dude, and at that time, that was a different Ben Roethlisberger. You have to remember, this is low fade, skinny John B. Sideburns Ben with the pencil mustache and beard combo. So I'm sitting there looking like
Mario.
Yeah, exactly. Young Mario. So we're sitting, and I'm like, this dude's cool as heck, man, and we just started talking, just wrapping our background, getting to know each other, and then they put our lockers next to each other. And so for my entire career in Pittsburgh, because I've obviously been played twice as long as I did, our lockers were right next to each other from day one all the way up until I left for San Diego. And so there's a lot of time to be shared with somebody, especially when you're a lineman with your quarterback. You want to have their back at all times. And I felt like we just grew as time grew, right? I mean, rookie year when he thrust into the spotlight, week 2 of the season, Tommy Maddox goes down in Baltimore, and then we know the rookie record for most wins by a rookie quarterback, and just watching him grow and us spending a lot of time together. And one of these days, I was so blessed and fortunate to be drafted to the Steelers with that guy that will be a Hall of Famer, because it was just tremendous, and the things that he could do with the football was phenomenal. Even though to my angst early in his career, holding the ball for about 6 seconds, running around, dodging 3 different sacks, and winging the ball downfield, like, yeah, that was easy, huh? I was like, yeah.
I mean, nobody was better at extending the play with his physicality. Like, you couldn't take him down. That's the reason he was so successful, right? I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, he was a tank, and an athlete doesn't even do him justice, because I mean, the man, whatever ball that he touched, sports, he was good at it. Basketball, baseball. I'm sure if we played badminton, I'm sure he would have been great at that too. Bowling, he was good. I'm just like, man, what are you not good at? I'm like, I get you're from Ohio, but still, like I get you play a lot of other alternative sports there. But yeah, I mean, he was just good at everything. So it was a blessing to have him as a teammate.
So I have a question about broadcasting now. When you were in the midst of your journey as a player, at what point did you come to the realization, or did you think about becoming a broadcaster?
So, broadcasting was something I thought about early in my career, because, we had the opportunity where you had to ask about being a part of a radio show, like the Players Weekly show, where you do one night at a location. And so they say, hey, Max, do you want to do a show with Joe Bendel on Tuesday nights? I was like, yeah, sure. I'll do it up at Dick's Sporting Goods. Perfect. 1 hour, you go in, kind of recap the game, talk about the opponent ahead of time, and have fans in the audience. And after doing that for a year, I was like, man, this is pretty cool. I really enjoyed this, and it was fun. And so from there, the NFL had just released their broadcast boot camp. And the broadcast boot camp was like this opportunity to go up to Mount Laurel and go to NFL Films headquarters, and you get to learn all the different broadcasting trades. So whether it was play-by-play and color analyst, whether it was studio, whether it was in the field reporting, you had all these different opportunities. And then they had industry heads that came in and were your mentors or coaches. So I remember we were paired with Fred Gaudelli at NBC. Fred was our lead. And I just remember going through that. And there was about 20 of us in this class. And myself and Tyoka Jackson got paired together with Darren Sharper, and I forgot who our fourth was. And so we're going through the process and going through all these different game calls. Gus Johnson came up, and Gus was our play-by-play when we were trying to color analyst, watching a video game and calling it from that perspective. And it was awesome. And from that point forward, I was hooked. I was like, what can I do to stay in this? So then from there, the Steelers gave me my own TV show called Maxed Out. That was back then on digital web, only on the Steelers.com website, which, that's also just post dial-up phase of life. So, probably didn't get that many views, but it was content that was put out. And it allowed me an opportunity to interview my teammates. We went and did fun activities. And then from there, doing more radio stuff, and then filling in for Jerome Bettis when he couldn't do his show, which eventually turned over to the Hines Ward show. And just kind of being a fill-in host of those different shows throughout my time in Pittsburgh just sparked it for me to want to do it. So then when I retired, I went and I did an internship at 120 Sports, which is out of Chicago, which is a part of Campus Insiders and the whole Silver Chalice Productions. And from there, I just remember like, okay, what do I need to do after this internship? I did everything behind the camera. So I went camera operator. I did board ops. I cut clips for the internet because their big thing was 120-second game clips. So I learned how to edit and cut clips for highlights for all the different sports. And one day, one of the guys for the PFF show couldn't make it. So like, hey, Max, you mind jumping from behind the camera and doing it since you're an former offensive lineman? You know these guys pretty well. And so I did a hit for them and went through the top 5 PFF offensive linemen at that time and just kind of broke them down. I'm like, man, you're really good. You sure you want to be behind? I was like, I was like, I've never had an opportunity to be in front of, because I've tried and never got the opportunity. So I was like, let me learn all the aspects so that I can be better. If the opportunity ever arose, I'd be ready for it. And so from there, they were happy after my internship. And then I just went to the local stations out here. I went to the local Fox station because they had the rights to the Cardinals. So I was like, can I do post game hits? I'll do it for free. All I need is tape. I was like, just give me tape and I'll do it. And so that was the first one. Jude LaCava gave me a shot at doing the post game. I did that for 4 years. And then I went to the local radio station that covered the radio aspect of it, AZ Sports 98.7. And I said, I'll fill in. I'll fill in wherever you need me, whatever holiday, whatever it is. I'll just come in. I just asked for tape, right? I wasn't even asking for payment at that time because I just needed to build my reel. And so after the first year, they were like, hey, we'll cut you a fee, man. You're too good not to be paid something. Wow. So both of them worked it out and then introduced me to high school football for the AIA. And my boss at the time, Kevin Ray, which is funny because K-Ray does a pre and post for the Cowboys, also the voice of the Suns, right? So it's like he was my first boss and said, hey, I'll put you on the high school game of the week for the AIA on their website. Perfect. That's all I can ask for. And then just kept building from there. More opportunities came, and then 120 Sports came back to me when right before they became Stadium and said, hey, we need a guy for the Conference USA game of the week for us. Would you mind doing a 12-game slate, calling college games? And I said, absolutely. I'll do that in a heartbeat. I'm like, you're going to pay me to fly and call these games in stadiums? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it was ball. And so
building that reel up, right? I mean, that's
building the reel and going through the process. And then eventually led to 4 years ago, Steelers called, same time ESPN radio called and said, hey, we have a vacancy. Wanted to know if you'd be interested in filling it. You want to audition for the job, and went through, and that was actually for the color analyst role. But because I lived in Arizona, it didn't work out that way, and so they made some changes. Then the Steelers called me back and said, "Hey, do you want to be the sideline reporter?" I said, "And I still get to live here and just fly in?" I said, "Yes, I'll do it. Do it." And so I accepted that. At the same time, ESPN Radio had called to ask me about doing radio broadcasts for the NFL side. So it was like a decision that had to be made, and I eventually made the decision to take the Steelers gig because the ESPN NFL was just 12 weeks, whereas the Steelers, it's 20 plus games every season. So I was like, and that also is a tough job to get into a team broadcast. So I took that job, and now I've been doing both of them because ESPN came back and said, hey, how about this? When the Steelers don't play on Sundays, can you call NFL games? And then also we'll work out a college schedule for you that works around the Steelers schedule so that we can still have you on the broadcast. So to work for both ESPN and the Steelers was pretty awesome. And that's where I've been now going on 4 years.
It's nice to be in demand, right, Max?
Yes. Feels good.
Always helps, right?
To me, it sounds like you fell in love with the grind, and the grind paid off.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's no better work than hard work, right? I mean, that's just how you have to do it, and I don't take that for granted because I know there's a bunch of guys that will want to do it, that like the idea of doing it, that will get an easy shot at doing it, but knowing, what the process entails, just like making it to the NFL, like, as Drake said, you weren't with me shooting in the gym, right? You know what I'm saying? So so it's like I understood what that process is, and everything that's earned through hard work is more satisfying than things that are given to you. So I've always been about that mindset in everything that I do.
So you usually do one game a week.
No, 2 games a
You
week.
do 2 games a week. So how difficult is it to prep for both games like that? I mean, you have to really, like, I guess, what would you say, manage your time on each of them, correct?
Yeah, it is something. The good thing is, from the Steelers' perspective, like being in the booth versus being on the sidelines is a different preparation style than being in the booth for a college game. So the good thing is they're not the exact same thing that I'm doing for both games. Like one of them, more time is going to be spent for the college, because I don't have the same teams every week or one same team. It's 2 different teams. It's potentially a different conference every week. So now I got to go back 2-3 weeks and get myself prepared and up to speed for that upcoming game. And then memorizing where the guys are in the depth chart, making your chart out and going through it and just figuring out where everything falls in place. And then for the Steelers, because I cover the Steelers, I'm in training camp the entire time. I've gone through preseason. I've watched these guys, and the roster doesn't roll over as much at college, especially now with NIL and transfer portal.
Yeah.
It doesn't roll over as much. So you already feel good about that. Now it's watching the other opponent. And I'm already watching their film and everything else and checking the highlights because I'm in the NFL space. It makes it easier because now I just have to focus on that one team.
You don't work on that personnel for the Steelers. You work on the other team. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah. And I do a daily show for the Steelers, so I'm getting the updates. I get the injury reports. I know who's participating. I know what storylines are there. I know what milestones to watch for any significant player. And then I'm also working with another sideline reporter, Missy Matthews. She's going to do more of the cover stories. She's going to do the weather and all that kind of all the other kind of things around the game. And I'm literally in-game analysis. So I'm watching it from the field view, kind of like you guys, right? You get to see from the card. It's a different perspective than being up in a sky cam or in the truck in the back. So that opportunity gives you a different feel and flavor of the game. I could walk around to a different, I get goalpost to goalpost on my side of the field. So I can go sit in the end zone when it's initial kickoff and that start of a drive, and then work my way to the opposite angle as they're incoming towards me as they get into the red zone and to the touchdown. So it's just those perspectives are just so invaluable, and the experiences of both require a lot of time, but it's different time management between both of them.
So let's take you from the radio and put you in the TV booth. Let me ask you this question. If you was calling a game and we're going to a replay, what angles you prefer to see?
So if it's dealing with anything within the interior line, quarterback, linebackers, I want that pit. The pit's going to tell me everything I need to know. It's going to give me all the juice. It gives me a nice tight angle to focus on, not a lot of exterior. Now, when you're talking about OPIs, DPIs, anything that happens on the outside extremities, that's when you go to the all 22. Now it's top or bottom of the vision as far as the screen goes. And so that's where I want to see, okay, well, what led to this? What was the idea of the play? And then what led the eyes of the referee to call that penalty, right? What action was happening that made them throw the flag on the exterior? But as far as for anything where a majority of your bodies are, which is in that pit view, right?
Yeah. 5
offensive linemen, minimum 3 to 4 defensive linemen, plus your backs and your quarterback and running back are all in that tight 22. I now can see at least 18 of the guys involved in whatever that penalty was and what led to that. So it gives me a better view. I love the cart view when it's stuff that's line of scrimmage based, because then you're talking about offsides, a false start, illegal motion, illegal formation. All those things give you that intimate details. What does the center have a little hitch with his hand right before he's snapping that gives him away? Was that defensive lineman, lined up across the line of scrimmage on the edges where that side judge maybe he's not paying attention because he's focused on the ball? Those are the things where I look at. So I love all the different, and the beauty is now in this modern technology, right? We have so many different camera angles, so many different views to get exactly what you want. But being an old school purist, that pit view is going to tell me 90% of everything I need to know. And then you add the other elements. Now I can get even more nuanced and more specific and hone in.
Okay.
I imagine that the card angle is good, but just to a certain degree, because it's not like top heavy. It's not like you need more of a pitched perspective looking down on it to see the entire pocket. I think the sky cam would probably be pretty good from behind, correct? Because you see the formation, like total formation, the way the pocket develops, everything like that.
So I like that on games that have it. You
Yeah.
know,
And they all have it, right?
because that's the other precursor, right? If the game has it, I want it, right? But when it doesn't, you make do. But the sky cam gives you that beautiful view because it allows you to be in the quarterback's mind and not exactly in his head at his field level view. You now can see things move. So I can see safety rotation to anticipate a blitz and why a quarterback will call things off, or why you see the offensive lineman taking off the original mic point and sliding it another way to protect the backside of the quarterback or the front side, depending where overload's coming from. It gives you those different elements to really anticipate what's going to happen in it. And that's the fun part because, I'm a football nerd, and as an offensive lineman, we have to know everything the defense knows. And we got to know what the quarterback's thinking from a protection and a blitz perspective of where the hot is for him. We need to know where his hot's going to be as well. It's not just about him. Now, if you ask me the intricate route details, I'm not concerned with that as an offensive lineman when I was playing, but I need to know if this is a quick 3, 5, 7-step drop. What's the play action? What direction are you going first? Are you looking at right, selling it back to the left? I need to know that because that changes the path on how I'm going to block. If I want to take this guy more inside, give you an outside look at your receiver that might be running some type of out or stick route to the outside and he's ISO to the left, I need to know that. Whereas if it was working on the strong side of a play and you got 3 receivers, okay, I know for that I can be more man up and I can force that guy to the outside because now I'm giving him better vision for the middle of the field and the hashes. So those things all play into it. When you're looking at kind of that Skycam overview, you want to know that because, early in my career, we were responsible for calling the hots for our quarterbacks. So we would take Ben off of a hot if we just wanted to lock it up and give him a tight pocket. And, eventually you got to the point where it's like, no, I don't want this because sometimes I want that hot because I want that guy to be open and I need that guy to blitz for me to see it. So it changed over like years after year 3, year 4 and beyond. That's when Ben was like, nope, let me go on it. It's my job.
Wow.
So, hey, you got to stay tuned for part 2. Part 2 is just as good as part 1. And we want to thank everybody who's been on the show. Yeah. We have had, some great people to interview. Me being the first one. He had a shirt off and a mask on, but we did it.
The best is yet to come.
Yeah.
We got a lot of cool things lined up. Max was phenomenal. Like as I said earlier, his football knowledge is amazing. It's amazing. Very entertaining guy. And I'm really hoping he gets a chance to be an analyst today.
Yeah.
He deserves it.
Yeah.
But next week will be part 2 of that interview.
And here's everybody's favorite segment. Ask Tony.
Ask Tony.
Another segment of Ask Tony. And here's wait, Crash. What you doing here? What? You told me to come get out here. Wait.
Ask Tony. Is there any sporting event worldwide that you would ever want to work on?
Yeah, cornhole.
Interesting.
Anywhere. It's corn. Let's go Ireland.
Ireland and
Ireland and
cornhole in
cornhole.
Ireland?
Yeah. Or darts.
That's
darts.
more.
That would be
darts.
awesome. That crowd's sick.
Would you ever consider using a servo focus like Mario uses?
Oh, only half a sissy.
Not the pinwheel, but the servo, the roller servo.
The servo crank.
Yeah, the servo crank.
Yeah. It's, you're half a man if you use that. So. Sorry.
This is all for the Italian viewers. Can you cook a lasagna from scratch?
Oh, hell yeah, I can.
And if you can, what ingredients are you using?
Oh, that's easy. Corey really wants to probably know. We'll start with the usual stuff. But the secret recipe be prosciutto. I won't tell you where, but you got to add prosciutto in there.
Prosciutto.
Yeah, and let me tell you right now, lasagna is the only thing you could cook in a microwave the next day to reheat. Everything else sucks.
That's an Italian no-no, reheat and stuff in the... You
Yeah,
gotta
you
go
don't
in
do
the
that.
regular oven, right?
Oh, no, you have to go right in the oven.
Yeah.
Yeah. But lasagna you could actually do in a microwave. It actually tastes pretty good.
Would you reheat mac and cheese?
Fuck no.
Okay.
I just throw that shit right in the garbage.
If they were to do a biopic about your life, which actor would you want to play you?
Joe Pesci. I would have to go with Joe Pesci. Speaking of Joe Pesci, here he comes right now.
And last
keep it rolling. You'll see what I mean.
last question is the director wants to know if you have something low.
Usually I do.
All right.
Hold on, wait, keep recording. Drano, come here. Yeah.
X-Towny.
Yeah.
X-Towny.
There he is.
X-Towny.
Right there. That's
Yeah.
the guy that's gonna play me.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
In your life story, I'm playing you. Yeah. That'll work. That'll
Sounds
be
just
good.
like me.
Yeah, that'll be good.
He's from Biloxi.
I look and sound just.
We're
Yeah, you're from the
We're
South.
from the south.
He's from Biloxi, so that'll work. Yeah.
Yeah, it's perfect. Right there.
X-Towny.
Another stellar rendition of Ask Tony. Tony is just, what can I say?
I'll take this. Hello.
Agent again.
Zoo. It is my age. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Don't say. Thank you. Tony's out. Said he get paid. He said that 10% you giving him ain't gonna fly like it did with me.
It's 10%.
Mario.
It's a 2-minute segment. We have like a 30-minute show.
Mario. Pay the man.
10%.
In the words of Michael Irvin, pay the man. Tony, checks in the mail.
Till next week.
Till next week.
Same bat time.
Same bad channel. Doom, 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 Batman.